Yes, folks, welcome back to Talking Wolves. Hope you're keeping well and safe. A little bit of a busy one for me this week, so we're at work for today's video. But yeah, hope you guys are keeping well. It's going to be another big game for Wolves, another tricky game this weekend. We're back at Molineux for the next 2 weeks, but this one is going to be a tough one against Manchester City, arguably the best team in the world right now, Premier League holders, Champions League winners. It could be a long afternoon, but let's wait and see. As always, guys, let me know your thoughts ahead of this game, your score predictions, your predicted lineups in the comment section down below. And if you haven't already, smash that subscribe button and hit that like button down below as well. Very quickly as well, we're going to be taking part in the Wolves Molineux Sleep Out once again. So if you do have any spare change, a donation towards our Talking Wolves page goes a long way at helping the Wolves Foundation and the Good Shepherd charities. So I'll leave that in the link at the top of the description. It really does mean a lot. But yeah, this game, guys, it's massive. I don't think I say massive in terms of it's a massive task for Wolves. It's going to be a very tough game. Of course, the manager, Gary O'Neill, I'm sure we're going to have lots of comments about it in the comment section down below. There is pressure on him, no doubt, but I think it's still very early for him. I don't think Wolves will sack him anytime soon. I don't think the pressure will get any worse after Saturday unless City get some record-breaking win against us. I think the pressure, everyone understands going to this game thinking how many are Wolves going to lose by. And that's frustrating. We used to be able to go into these games a few years ago thinking, you know what, we Wolverhampton Wanderers, we could cause an upset here, like we did under Nuno a couple of times, even getting, obviously, the double against City a few years ago. But over the last few seasons, they've really got the better of us. Haaland, De Bruyne. Thankfully, City have got a few players missing, which I'm sure we'll talk about in the opposition part shortly as well. For Wolves, big miss is going to be Jean-Luc Bellegarde. I think games like this, it would have been really interesting to see how he approached those. I think with how he plays and how he attacks, it could be really interesting. But in terms of how Gary O'Neill approaches this game, I'd be intrigued. City have just been knocked out of the Carabao Cup, as did we. But obviously Newcastle went and attacked them and ended up winning that game. Does Gary O'Neill sit with 11 men behind the ball and hope for a counter-attack? Or does he go for it at the risk of, yes, surprising and shocking City, but also at the risk of being quite open at the back and City knocking 3, 4, 5 plus past us? Wolves really, especially the defensive side of things, need to be on their A game. They really need to be on it on Saturday for any chance of getting anything out of the game. In regards to lineup, it's quite hard, I still think, to predict this team. I don't think any of the 11 on Tuesday rather, did themselves much favours. Possibly Boubacar Traoré, but I still don't think he'll get the nod. So I think in terms of a lineup, it'll be Sarr obviously in goal. I think Aït-Nouri will keep his place at left back with centre backs of Craig Dawson and Max Kilman, right back of Semedo. Lemina and Gomez obviously keeping their place. I think Cunha will still start ahead of them. I think Neto and Juan will keep their place. And I don't know. I've gone with Sasha only because of certain comments made about Fabio Silva in the press this week. I could still easily see him going for possibly Cunha as the number 9 and maybe Boubacar Traoré in there as a midfield option. But that's the team I think we could go with. I think Sasha will offer something completely different going forward. And but at the same time, if you want to play quickly on the breakaway, Sasha possibly isn't that player. So, I don't know. It really depends on how Gary O'Neill wants to set up for this game. And we look at, City side of things. Obviously, Rodri is suspended. They've still got a few injuries. Matheus Nunes coming back. The atmosphere at Molineux could be really interesting with Matheus Nunes coming back in as well. But yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game and atmosphere at Molineux. But we go into the opposition preview now. I spoke to the guys over at City Extra to get their thoughts ahead of this game, what we can expect from Manchester City. So then, delighted to be alongside Hugh from the Big Six and City Extra. Hugh, how you keeping, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. Life's good right now, apart from getting knocked out of the Carabao last night by Newcastle. Some say we wanted to, some say we didn't. But other than that, flying high, man. Champions League, Premier League, unbeaten, so can't complain.
Yeah, I mean, City are on top of the world literally right now. Unbeaten starting the league as well, 6 wins from 6. I wish I could say the same about Wolves, but I mean, you sound pretty happy with how things have gone so far. But can things go much better in the league so far? How have you kicked things off?
No, I mean, considering the circumstances, like history would show that City tend to start slow. You know, we'll usually have a bit of inconsistency at the beginning. You'll have a few hiccups here and there. It takes us a while to find our rhythm, but I mean, statistically, we've had the one of the easiest starts fixture wise, but I still can't really complain. Like I said, the circumstances surrounding it are injuries nonstop. You know, players like De
Yeah.
Bruyne, Kovacic, Grealish, Stones, Bernardo. These are big key players, but we're still picking up the wins. I mean, they're not always the prettiest performances. Like I'm fortunate enough to go to pretty well all the games, and I'm never really mind blowing. But the at this stage, it's just about picking up the points, man. So yeah, I'm happy enough, man, with how it's gone. But October is going to be a big test for us. You know what I'm saying? Like we've got United away, Arsenal away, Brighton at home, Champions League games. So I'm not getting ahead of myself, if that makes sense. I'm even nervous about our game. I know you've only
Hmm.
won, if I'm right in saying, there's a one game so far this season
Yeah.
against Everton. I'm still nervous. Like I watched you a lot against Liverpool, and I really thought Liverpool were there for the taking for you, particularly in that first half. I really think you could have got something. So, you know, if you turn up like that against us and we're not at the right levels, I'm not complacent. You know, I'm well aware of the damage that you could cause.
Yeah, I said sort of earlier in our video that it's a shame because sort of under Nuno when we were in the Europa League, we could play City, and I just have that little feeling that we could make something happen. And I think that season before we had Project Restart, we got the double over City. Recent years, especially since you added Haaland last season, De Bruyne's had unbelievable games against Wolves as well. So obviously Wolves fans are going into this one, and there's a lot of negativity from our end as well. It's almost as if we know City are going to win this game, but by how many? But I mean, how are you happy with how things have gone, especially like you said, considering some of the injuries that you've had? De Bruyne's obviously a massive miss, but do you think the team have coped quite well, or at times has it been a little bit sticky in certain matches?
Yeah, I mean, I was quite unsure of who to look at and say, right, you're gonna drag us through tough moments. I knew like with Grealish being injured, he was a huge part of last season. John Stones, he was Rolls Royce last season, and then the big one, obviously Kevin De Bruyne. So I was kind of looking at players saying someone needs to stand up here, and the man who did and has been is Julian Alvarez. I mean, last
Mm,
season I think he got like 19 goals in all comps, and he was absolutely
yeah.
class. But it's obviously going to be overshadowed by Erling Haaland, who gets 52 in all comps. Like that's just you're not going to top that. But Alvarez has been absolutely unbelievable this season. He's been creative. I think he's on 4 goals and 4 assists in all comps. So yeah, Pep seems to find leaders. Just when you need some, Rodri's injured or Rodri's suspended now for 3 games.
Yeah.
So who will he play, or who will play as a number 6 against you? Will it be Calvin Phillips? Will it be Nunes? Will it be Kovacic? But for whoever it is, they've got big boots to stand into. So there's a lot to look at. But yeah, in terms of just like the start of the season, I couldn't be happier. I'm really happy with the mindset the team have. Kyle Walker spoke about it. He says the hunger levels are still there. Like after you win a treble, there's always going to be this idea or apprehension that maybe the hunger levels fall off or there's not that same drive to achieve. But Kyle Walker's made it perfectly clear that this team is hungry to go and potentially win a four-peat, which has never been done before. So, yeah, it's just a great place to be right now, man. Like I said, I go to the games every week. The atmosphere is great. Everyone's positive. Everyone backs the team. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. So, I mean, hopefully when I go to Molineux on Saturday, that doesn't change. But yeah, it's good, man. It's good.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there's a couple of names that you mentioned there. I think Carl Walker won. From the outside, looks like he's had a decent start to the season. I think him versus Neto is going to be a really interesting battle. If Neto starts on the left hand side. The other one is potentially, obviously, Matheus Nunes is the one who obviously left Wolves on interesting circumstances, let's say, and I'm really intrigued to see what the sort of atmosphere and the reaction is going to be like to his Molineux return. But what's your thoughts on his side and how has he started off as a Manchester City player so far?
He started off well. He looks like a really confident guy. I mean, this isn't the first time we wanted Nunes. Before he went to Wolves and he was with Sporting Lisbon, we know Pep Guardiola wanted him, and he was someone
Yeah.
that we were looking at back then. And us as fans, we were quite intrigued. But now he's got him. He's got him at a good price, and he's come in. He's played a couple of games here and there. I watched him live twice now, I think, and
Mm.
he's just he's hungry to get forward and make things happen. And when you're missing players like Kevin De Bruyne, it's really important that you have players doing that because Kovacic isn't really he's not really a creative spark, if that makes sense. Um, So obviously Calvin Phillips and these kind of guys too, but having someone like Nunes, he gives away the ball every now and then, but I like the way he's trying things. I like the way he's aggressive, and he also backs himself. I like a confident player, because sometimes players who come to City, they take a little while to settle in. You know what I mean? They get a bit, I don't know, is it overawed or intimidated by Pep Guardiola or what it is, but they take a while to settle in, like Jack Grealish did, Mahrez did, Bernardo did. But Nunes seems to have come in and he's just ready to rock, and I like that. We have a long way to go before we decide whether he's fully at it and he's going to be a top player for us. But early signs, I like him. And I was going to ask you about Matheus Nunes, because I can't say I watched a huge amount of him other than when we play against Wolves. I mean, if you could tell me a bit about what player he is, I'd like to know what I'm in
Yeah. I
for.
mean, I think every Wolves fan knows that he's got the talent and the ability. I think there was a couple of things with Nunes. I think he probably didn't show it enough last season for Wolves. I don't know if it's almost because it's a transitional period that he came to Wolves quite late in the last year in the summer, and obviously his first year in England as well. But when you watched him, you could definitely tell there's a very good footballer in there. But I think with City as well, the other 10 players on the pitch are going to be top world-class quality. So, when you surround yourselves in a training environment and in a playing environment with those types of players, of course, if he can step his level up to, and play consistently at the level that we saw maybe only 2 or 3 times last season, I think, City have definitely got a good player there. Obviously, I think it's overshadowed his time at Wolves with how the whole his Wolves career ended, really, with obviously the skipping training and the reaction. So I suppose there's always going to be a negative light on him, unfortunately, at Wolves. But I think most Wolves fans could see there is that quality there. And I think, at City, if he can step it up and stay at that consistent level, I think he'll be fine, and you guys will have a real asset. The person obviously spoke, bigged him up quite a lot before, is Pep Guardiola. I'd assume every single City fan is happy with him in charge of the club. But do you ever get worried? I mean, there's every now and then, 2 or 3 times a season, there's rumours that he's going to be leaving the club, leaving at the end of his contract, moving to an international job. What's sort of your thoughts on Pep and his situation at City at the minute?
We try to put that thought to the back of our head as much as possible. Like we all kind of know that the day Pep does leave, there will be a drop off. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Whoever comes in to replace Pep is going to have a pretty tough time trying to emulate or pick up where he left off. Like we back the board to make the right decisions and bring in the right people, because they rarely make mistakes in that sense. But he's just such a special manager, man. I can't tell you how much of a joy it is to get the tram up to the stadium every week and watch his team play football, and all the memories he's given us over the years. But I mean, he's unique, Pep Guardiola. When he first signed for us, we were told he won't do more than 2-3 seasons. Signs a new extension. He won't stay past that. He's 7 or 8 years at Man City now, and you can tell he really, really, whether people like to believe it or not, he really does love the club. He loves the city. He loves the fans, and it's the certain things he says and does where you go, he gets it. He really gets it, and he gets us. Like, you remember when the Chargers landed on our door last February? I think other managers with less love for their club may have tried to, calm it down or shy away from it a little bit. But he met it head on. He says, "I'll be here. I'm not going anywhere." I think the quote was, "I'm not leaving this seat." Whether he meant it or not is up to you to make your own minds up. But even for the manager to say that at a real time of uncertainty and a lot of worry going around, anxiety, it meant a lot to us as fans. So we worship Pep Guardiola. We genuinely do. He's given us memories and feelings that we could only have dreamed of not so long ago. So the idea of him leaving, like I said, I don't want to think about it, but I like to think he'll stay forever. That's what I'll say.
The thing is with Pep, I think as well, I think he's just likable compared. And I don't know if it's just me, but compared to other Premier League managers, he could say things in the press, and you almost, you appreciate him and agree with what he says. Klopp, Ten Hag, Arteta, they get sometimes a lot of stick for what they say in the press, or to players, or how they act. Whereas Pep, I think he does the right things, really. And I think, like you said, City have got an unbelievable coach there. So, for your sake, I really just hope he stays for the foreseeable future. But looking ahead to this game now, I mean, like I said earlier, I don't think Wolves fans are looking forward to it too much, and we feel like it could be a long afternoon. But what's your thoughts on this game, Hugh? Do you think it's going to be, a straightforward match of City, and what's your score prediction, do you reckon?
No, I would never. I don't really go into many games and say it's going to be straightforward, especially away games. Away games, I always have my apprehensions. I mean, there are some City fans, plenty of them, who just think, yeah, we're going to steamroll whoever we play this weekend. And I respect that. But just me, I always have my typical City kind of nerves. And, like you referred to there, you've had your days over us. You did the double over us in that Project Restart year. I'll never forget it. I'm a Traore. I hate the guy. But no, like Molineux has been a tough place. And I know the atmosphere gets going when those Wolves fans get behind the team, and it can get on top of you. So I don't think it'll be straightforward. Like I said, we're missing some key players. So once again, we need players to stand up and put in a big performance. So I'm looking forward to it more than anything. I'm really enjoying the momentum that we have right now. 6 for 6, the opportunity to go 7 for 7 going into that big month that I'm talking about. Where we've got those big away games and derbies would be absolutely huge. But we got to get the job done. And like I said, I did watch you against Liverpool, and like I said, I saw something that I said, yeah, they could on their day damage someone, and it didn't look like a team to me, your team, that had only won one game this season, because you looked like you could actually cause threat on goal. But in terms of score prediction, I'm gonna go with a 2-1 City. I think it'll be tighter than maybe some people think. Like with clubs like Wolves who are struggling, and no one expects them to win, I always think you can play with a certain sense of freedom. Like I said, no one's expecting you to get anything. You can just go out there and have a go. And sometimes that doesn't suit us. When teams don't have pressure against us, I don't know, maybe we take the foot off the gas, or it gives you more confidence as a team. So I'm cautious. I'm not complacent, but I'm really looking forward to it.
What do you think's the key? What's the key to beat City or get the better out of City though? How can teams hurt Manchester City?
Oh, historically, the type of style and setup that I find hurts us the most is teams that it's high risk, high reward, first of all, but it's the teams that go head to head with us. They try and meet us in the middle. They go toe to toe. Like I said, high risk, high reward. You could get slapped up 6-0, or else you could catch us on the day where if you go toe to toe with us, it might just work. Like Liverpool do it. I know they're, with all due respect, a much better team than you, but Southampton have done it to us many times. Crystal Palace have, Newcastle last season. These kind of teams, for some reason, they just set up and say, we're not going to set up a low block. We're not going to just allow City to dominate the middle of the park. We're going to put pressure on players who usually just have the freedom of the pitch. And sometimes it does catch City out. So, like I said, with what I saw of you against Liverpool, you showed those kind of tendencies. And I was kind of like, if they set up like that against us, maybe Dave, there could be a scare.
I mentioned that as well because I think that is something for a manager to consider. Do you almost go against City knowing they're a much better team and sort of set up as damage limitation, or do you do what you say, and just attack City and almost surprise them and shock them? So that'll be something that's interesting to see how Gary O'Neill approaches this game, because there is a lot of pressure on him at the moment. But let's wait and see. Hugh, where can people find you if they wish after this video?
You can find me on City Extra daily, doing all the City updates, watch alongs, match day vlogs, fan cams, all that good stuff. And then twice a week on the Big Six, where I'm constantly arguing with rival fans about the ongoings of their crap club. So yeah, listen, appreciate you having me on.
My pleasure, man. Hopefully catch up with you soon. And apart from Saturday, all the best for the rest of the season, mate. So big thanks once again to the guys over at City Extra. I'll make sure I leave their links in the description down below. Guys, do let me know your thoughts. My heart is saying a goalless 0-0 draw, but my head is saying that I think City are going to win this one comfortably, 3 or 4 goals to 0. Appreciate your support as always, guys. Of course, check out our link for the Molineux Sleep Out in the description. Even if it's a £5, honestly, it means so much to us. So I would really appreciate that. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and I'll catch you all very, very soon.